Start.
I hate Italians.
Oh no, we're not
Down with this.
I'm leaving that in.
Stinkies. Welcome back to the Cold Brews and Old Dudes podcast, where we sit down, we have a cold brew, and we talk about some old dudes, and usually they're having a war. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty interesting one, probably that no one has heard of because we had not. The War of Jenkin's Ear. Pretty random, but we're going to get into it. So before we do that, I'm Karsten, this is Grant and Matt. Historical background on that, I have zero history experience. You two have a little.
3 years of college history.
Also 3 years.
Right, so take our word for it, right?
So nothing. We have nothing.
We have a degree in bullshit.
Degree in bullshit. Good way to put it. Good way to put it. Let's start at the very beginning. You want to take us from the rip here?
Yep, so after our 5 minutes of research and zero background, what we have come up with is the War of Jenkin's Ear. We got the British versus the Spanish back in 1739 to 1748. So back in the powerhouses of the Armadas back then.
October to October in both those years.
Got it. Awesome.
What are we looking at? About 10 years almost.
All
so
right.
a pretty lengthy war. A lot of subject matter.
Longer than World War One.
Yeah. Is that true? I don't know. You tell me.
It is.
Anyway.
It is. Yes, yeah.
Essentially, it started because a British merchant named Robert Jenkins had his ear cut off by the Spanish Coast Guard because they said he was trespassing. It took a few years for this to really boil, and this is what I got, is it took some time for this to boil into an actual war because when it happened originally, people weren't super upset about it.
Yeah.
In Britain, it wasn't public knowledge.
Yeah,
people knew what happened, but right, it's 1739.
So
like, they didn't get on Twitter.
Yeah, you're not gonna get on Twitter.
We're
I'm
not
not
even
gonna
get on Twitter.
I'm not gonna follow my local Robert Jenkins down in the
Right. It's like your buddy
down in
from
the Caribbean, by the way. It's in
Right.
The Caribbean.
Did you get where that was specifically?
New Granada. New Granada.
Where the hell's that?
It's where the old Granada was.
Right,
No,
that's
down in
good.
the Caribbean. So it's south.
One of those
America,
islands.
South of North
South of-
America.
So you might know where Florida is. Take that. A little lower.
Yeah,
A little bit lower.
Yeah, we'll get into Florida later, actually. You know?
Will we? Didn't
Yes,
get that
no,
far.
yeah, I got that far.
I
I got
didn't
that
get
far.
that far. All right. So yeah.
New Granada was Colombia.
Oh,
So like in the
Colombia.
north of South America.
North of South America.
That's what Wikipedia says.
All right, well, we're trusting Wikipedia with
Roger
all our
that.
research, so I'll trust
Roger
you with
that.
that. So let's get into the start of the war then. Let's see
Yeah.
festivities kick off then.
Yeah.
All right, let's give some numbers first, maybe.
Okay, I didn't get any numbers.
I got numbers.
Fire away.
So I got two sections of numbers here for the Brits and the Spaniards.
I got some numbers.
I got some numbers.
Okay.
1739 to 1741 for the Brits. They had 20,000 casualties, so dead and wounded, 20,000.
20,000.
20,000. 20,000. And from 1741 to 44, Wikipedia states that they had 30,000 dead, plus a large number wounded.
And that we're only talking.
That's just the British.
We're only talking British, and we're only talking naval conflict. There was.
Because of the landmass in the distance, it was a lot of naval, but
Quite naval.
there were ground invasions. And the Spaniards from 39 to 48, 1739 to 48, they had 4,500 dead and 5,000 wounded.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but nowhere
a lot.
close to 30,000 dead on the British side in
Right.
just 3 years.
Right. In 3 years, which is really fast.
So why do you think that is?
That they took so many casualties?
Yeah.
Probably because they had to go all the way over out of their waters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That would be my guess.
I'd argue the Spanish did too, though.
Well, but wasn't New
Granada?
New Granada, there you go. New Granada, wasn't that a Spanish colony at the time?
Yes.
It was a Spanish port because they attacked it with 6 ships of the line.
Ooh.
That was how the war
Spicy.
started.
Large naval.
They had their little the Jenkins guy, right? So he was paraded in front of Parliament because they were like the new government that was there was like, we're gonna make a fit about this. You know how they do, right? They pick up a thing that's old and they're like, oh, we're gonna
Because fuck Spain, right?
right. We don't like Spain.
Yeah.
So
Trafalgar and shit.
Trafalgar, whatnot, yada yada, this and that. So they think to themselves, this is a good thing. We can row public opinion. We can sort of get ourselves into higher office.
Casus belli. Let's get this war started.
Let's get going, right? So they parade Mr. No Ear Jenkins in front of Parliament, right? They're like, they really did cut this dude's ear off.
So this
right?
bastard, he had You know, a little
had
glow
to.
up there. I mean,
They
I'd
had
get my ear hacked off if I was a merchant ship sailor.
to go be in
To
front
go
of
in front of
Parliament.
Parliament. He got some fame out of this.
You did.
I
Is
don't-
it
I
good
don't pity
fame? Yeah.
I don't pity him.
I don't pity him.
I think he's okay with that
Worst
situation.
things could have happened.
That,
Didn't walk the plank.
Didn't walk the plank, yeah.
The response was originally they send these ships down and they raid this port.
Okay.
And they knew, the Spanish knew the port was going to be raided, and I did not get the name of that port. Jamie, you want to pull that up?
Port New Granada that was raided
Port
to
New
start
Granada.
the war.
Yeah. But they went down there, and then they started raiding them, and that was sort of the beginning of it. Can you expand on that?
No, I can't.
Port Royal?
Yes,
Port Royal.
Port Royal.
That
Yeah. And
makes
and
sense.
what was the other one that I had here?
Yeah, you had something.
Gosh, it was a hard word to
Saint
pronounce.
Augustine?
Saint Augustine.
No, that was 1740. No.
Something about
So,
Puerto Bello.
Porto.
Puerto Bello.
That sounds like a food.
Puerto Cabello?
Cabello.
Puerto Cabello.
Martin
What was it
Cabello.
about
British
that?
ships attacked La Guardia and Puerto Cabello?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, they attacked with those 6 ships in the line, and that sort of kicked off the war.
Okay.
Then we had those big figures, and then basically I went and looked at the aftermath, and there was like a few years after this war where they didn't have quite as much fighting because of their resolution to the conflict, which I didn't see.
yeah.
But they eventually, of course, went straight back to going at it in the sea.
Yeah.
And then there was something about the War of Australian Succession. It sort of segued right into that.
Oh, Austrian. It's Austrian.
Was it?
It was Austrian.
Okay. Well, how does that have anything to do with it?
I'm going to go ahead and say Australia did not secede from anything since Australia wasn't a thing in the 1700s.
Yeah.
Was it?
Austrian?
Australia.
War
Austrian?
of Austrian succession?
Yeah.
I'm dyslexic. So it was Austrian. Now, how does that have anything to do
Austrians with
with
their
it?
Steyr arms.
We don't know.
Those
So-
damn Australians. Succeeding
Austrians
shit.
with their shrimp and the Bobby and Hitler.
What about Bobby and Hitler and all that?
I'm gonna jump in and actually let's before we get too deep into this. There's a bit of fucked around a little bit in the U.S. actually.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. Florida and Georgia.
Oh, right, we talked about
Florida
that.
Georgia line, not the band.
Bad band.
Not the-
Horrible band.
Of course, not the band. Band sucks.
Band sucks.
1740, St. Augustine, Florida, one of the first the Spanish colonies in Florida. That was attacked by the Brits from their colony in Georgia. So it's kind of like the Civil War again, except those two states didn't attack each other, so it's not.
Because at the time, the only Spanish colony in New America
It's Florida.
was Florida, right? That was before they had. What did they buy it? So they just sailed their happy
know.
asses right down there, took it, or shot it. Something I don't know. They
Fucked it.
Yeah.
were
fucked
pissed.
it.
They were mad about it.
They pissed on it. They shit on it.
Yeah.
They fucked it up. So that happened in 1740, and then in 42, Georgia was invaded over the land by troops from St. Augustine, I assume, from the Spanish. So a little bickering back and forth there on the Florida-Georgia line.
Little jabbing.
Yeah. I think we all would have benefited if one of those countries had kind of overtaken the other state. We wouldn't have Florida-Georgia line if they had done that.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be a whole thing.
There wouldn't be a line between the states. We wouldn't have the band. We wouldn't have to deal with that shit.
No
Now-
Florida.
Holy shit, no Florida. But instead you have Georgia, and that's no better.
Question
Uh-huh.
for you all, you two
Shoot.
specifically,
Yeah.
and for the audience, right?
The one viewer.
If theoretically that had happened,
Okay.
what would the Florida man be, right?
Well, we got to think. Who's taking over who? Is Georgia taking
Who's
over
taking
Florida?
over who? Well, do we have a bigger state of Florida, in which case I would have to assume more Florida man?
Or would it be a bigger state of Georgia, to which I'd assume Georgia football's even better?
Well, we don't want that.
We don't want that. I'm not a big Georgia fan.
But I'm
myself.
more concerned about like the guys that are, like karate chopping a snake or whatever.
Okay,
you know what
yeah,
it is?
yeah, yeah.
You look up
You got, like, I mean,
So
Georgia's
what's the second craziest state?
second
what you're
craziest
asking.
state.
second craziest
Maybe
state.
Mississippi, maybe?
Mississippi could
Mississippi?
be
They got-
Bama. That's
Bama.
They have some questionable things that go on.
What's the crazy...
Pull that up, Jamie.
Everything's crazy in their own way, I think.
Yeah,
California's a little crazy.
Yeah. They all have their own little deal, but,
But I think Florida really stands out. So
Florida
I
is
think
worse.
if Georgia overtakes Florida, it becomes a bigger Georgia. I think it really tones down the Florida man stuff. But
probably
I think if
does.
Florida,
Less
So
pythons.
apparently, according to Deadspin.com, the number 2 most crazy state is Arizona for its large assortment of elderly nudist colonies.
holy shit.
And also, they like to shoot each other.
What's the stat on the shooting?
Yeah, give me a number on that. How many times
How many times are they shooting each other? Man, we're really off topic here.
So
but this is important for us to know.
If Georgia overtakes Florida, though, back on that, you got a bigger Georgia. You have no Florida man. Florida overtakes Georgia. You know how many more Florida men you have?
Florida men, yeah.
Yeah, because
yeah.
Georgia's not as big as Florida, population-wise.
Population-wise.
But you used to say don't have plus 50% on them. Think of Atlanta. Think all the Florida men in Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't need that trouble. Atlanta's got bad enough.
No, it doesn't. And you know what that means? Worse zoning. Have you ever been to Florida, either of you?
No.
I've been one time, and I'll tell you what, one time, shocking. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of the weirdness that happened. And shout out to you, Mark, because you were there. I land in Florida, and we get out of the plane, and we're just driving to the hotel. And this is all in the span of 30 minutes, right? Because we were close to the airport. And there was, in Secession, a Chevy dealership. Okay. Normal. We have those everywhere else, right? Okay. A strip club, right? Now, why are those zoned by each other? We're going to buy a Camaro
High
and
rollers.
then see
That's obvious.
Cinnamon?
High rollers. You guys going to buy a Tahoe and pick up Cinnamon, Diamond, Crystal.
And put them in there. Or you're just getting one and you're picking them up in your Chevy Volt.
Okay.
Okay. And then the third one, right, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Electric.
And then the third one, retirement home. Why does that play? Does it play? It doesn't play, right? So, and I'm imagining that the volume, right? If we have bigger Florida, the volume of strippers next to retirement homes, it's at least going up by a third, and that's not good. That's bad for the country. So we see this, and I'm driving down the road thinking to myself, that's weird.
Okay.
Right? Because it is.
Yeah.
As a person not from there, you don't see that often, right? And we're going up the elevator in the hotel, and there was just a pimp and a hoe. And it was just shocking. I'd never seen that, right? Because I'm from not there, and so we don't do that.
The Midwest does not have
We do not do that at the
pimps and
Holiday
hoes.
Inn around here.
No.
The Holiday Inn is a respected establishment where I am from, and it is not in Florida. So, never seen a pimp and a hoe before. Very scary. I was 17 in an elevator by myself with just like a scary Cuban guy and that's not a dress,
It's an interesting business model. Interesting business model.
Horrifying.
Yeah, no, it's
horrifying.
It's exploitive. Exploitive.
Very. Anyways, back to the war.
Okay.
I think we were ready to hear about what we learned and what was right and what was wrong about it.
Let's what was the question we asked you first? I got a few more things here.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry.
What was the question that was posed to you before we off topic?
The Arizona shootings.
Before that.
Well, hold on. I want to know that. hold on.
Well, one more thing. Back on the statistics.
You got like 19
So police
tabs.
alone in Arizona shot at least 80 people last year.
Holy shit.
Damn.
Which was 4 less than the year before.
They're doing better.
Good for Arizona.
Good job, Tucson PD. We salute you.
Live PD.
As for regular shootings, a lot. Pretty much every city has over 100 each year. And there's a lot of cities.
It's the Wild West.
They're gunslinging.
All right. One more topic I want to cover here, and then we'll go into the resolution of the war. Privateering was a big thing down there, especially in the Caribbean. You got a lot of trade going in and out, a lot of plantations and things in the Caribbean, like San Domingue and places like that. The privateering, you got a lot of merchant ships. You say, hey, let's slap some 4-pounders inside this merchant ship. Let's go hunt some goddamn Spaniards. You say,
put a bounty on it, right?
Put a bounty on it. Say,
put a bounty on it.
Get the letter of marque, and you're like, thanks, British government. Let's go hunt some Spaniards.
Now, did that go both ways?
Yeah, of course.
So the Spaniards were doing it as well.
Privateering is open for everyone.
Well, I know, but the Spanish government was also putting a bounty on the heads of the British ships as well.
I'd love to answer that question, but frankly, I don't know. I just wrote down privateering.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I want.
That's good. But we can assume, based on that,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
If the British are doing it, there's no way the Spanish are like,
Yeah. Cause they're like,
you do it and we don't.
yeah, because the
right?
Spaniards got a bunch of
I would do it.
colonies down there. We got all these merchant ships. We're like, just throw some 4-pounders on the side. And
You can.
just let it fly, right?
Because people want to take other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hell
that's
yeah.
a constant. Death, taxes, and, taking other people's stuff.
I've got like 4 lines about the resolution of the war here.
All right, I want to hear it.
I've got diplomatic resolution. They reached a diplomatic resolution, a treaty. The Treaty of Madrid in 1750.
Treaty of Madrid.
Treaty of Madrid, as in Madrid's in Spain, right?
It is in Spain.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just love naming treaties
Not
after cities.
neutral ground. Usually they choose
No,
a
yeah,
neutral
you
site.
could have done maybe like Paris or something, because French were neutral in this. The French were neutral in this. That's true. I don't.
They eat snails. I mean, we don't...
They eat snails there. They're famous for bread. That's pretty boring. Surprisingly, because they hate the British.
Mm-hmm.
French stayed neutral. But then 40 years later, they'd fight them in the American Revolution. But yeah, they spread neutral there. So the Treaty of Madrid. So the British renounced Asiento. I don't know if that's a ship name or a place or something. It was in italics. So Asiento.
Asiento.
Asiento. They renounced
Yes.
ASI. Yeah, they renounced
Yeah.
Asiento exchange for 100,000 pounds. The monetary kind of pounds, not a. And relations actually improved after the war for a few years, surprisingly, considering they usually hate each other.
Well, which is silly to say because I mean we all know like the general history of it. It's not like they were like, "Ooh, let's all go hang out." Like they were gonna have this problem was gonna continue
Yeah.
for like until the Spanish Empire fell apart in 1895 or whatever. What was it? 90?
I don't
late
know.
90s. Okay, but
I don't know.
You know when they, right? Cuba and the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's funny that like when you're researching this stuff, they're like they make a point of it to tell you that like the relations improved. Like yeah, man,
Expose. I mean,
Yeah.
anything's
War.
an improvement when you're not
Yeah.
killing each other, right?
they like quit jacking each other's stuff.
When you're not, butchering 40,000 Brits.
Yeah.
You're
usually
trying to
good.
improve. Yeah.
This seems to me like this is the last time I can remember in history when they like won anything. I know we disagree on who wins what, but this seems like this might be the last time they actually won anything significant.
The Spaniards?
Yes. Did they win anything significant after that?
After the fact, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Because this is,
and I don't know what the treaty was, and we'll get into that.
from the back of my head, just, taking out the filing cabinet, I think this is kind of the downfall, like on the downward slope of the Spanish Empire. Like, they're kind of on
It
their way
feels
out.
like it is.
The
This is
1600s,
the
I
last
think, where they were like kind of,
hoorah.
give them the, yeah,
Yeah, it's the last hurrah. Because then after that, what happened? They slowly lose all their stuff until the U.S.
Yeah, until we take
gets real pissed because something blew up on the Main.
Philippines. Philippines were a Spanish colony, right?
Yes,
Probably.
they were.
Probably.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, the whole deal, or maybe it was Puerto Rico.
Okay.
But anyway, so now let's hear about what we got right,
Let's
what we
see.
got
Did
wrong.
we fuck up anything?
So regarding the war, you guys got pretty much everything right. When I was jumping in there. The asiento, I googled it up, and it means seat. Means seat.
Just seat. S-E-A-T, like where I'm on a seat.
Like where you are right now.
Raj.
They gave up the seat.
They gave it up.
However,
Shame.
the asiento was actually a monopoly contract which allowed foreign merchants to supply slaves to Spanish America.
A slave
They
contract.
renounced that.
They renounced their...
Their
wow.
Asiento.
Okay.
A slave? Oh, that's actually pretty
That's-
substantial then.
That is quite
That's
substantial
not giving up a
because
ship of the line. That's
horrible.
But
But I mean,
profitable.
that was at the time very
Extremely profitable. Very exploitive, like the pimp. It all
In
ties
Florida.
together.
Gosh, Florida man.
Typical,
Florida
the Spanish
man
colony
lives.
of Florida. They're still thriving on with their exploitive, business
Being
maneuvers.
exploitive and horrible.
And it all
Shame.
ties back to Asiento,
Ciento.
the seat. The seat.
So what else was in the reparation package?
So he hit a lot of the aftermath, but the diplomatic resolution also formed part of the wider settlement of the War of Australian Succession.
Austrian.
Shut up.
Does it say? I feel
It's
like
Austrian, I'm just
All right.
stupid.
I don't understand how that's
By the
involved.
Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle.
That's not English.
Nar.
Nah.
Nar. Nar.
Other than that, you guys got pretty much all of it. The relations did improve due to a concentrated effort by the Duke of Newcastle.
Ooh, that sucks.
That's a horrible title.
Probably with Birmingham or something.
Yeah, Newcastle.
Definitely bring a vest if you're going there.
Oh Jesus.
But then
Way
the
to
7
reign.
Years' War happened.
Okay, that was for 7 years.
Less
And
than 10.
yeah, it was boring until 1762 when the French did some shit, and they had to have another peace settlement.
So, can you explain to me why the Austrian secession?
What does Austria doing in the Caribbean?
That's what I want to know. And why does that have anything to do with the Spanish Empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
What are the Spaniards doing in Austria?
right, were the Austrians in
They're kind of landlocked. If I
That's what I'm
remember
saying.
correctly.
So
Logically am. If I'm right, I'm gonna.
the
Oh,
war
fuck,
was
shut it, you.
the pretext for the war was this lady named Maria Theresa. She
Mother
wanted to
Teresa.
inherit her father, the emperor's crown, but France, Prussia, and Bavaria wanted to get that power, and Maria Theresa ended up being backed by Britain.
Who the hell is Maria Theresa?
Some lady that was the daughter of the king.
Austrian?
The Habsburg monarchy.
Yeah, Austrian.
Okay,
It's
so
Austrian.
this is how we're
okay,
back.
it's all
right.
coming together.
So it is.
So-
No, that is what it is. Then.
Yeah. So the Austrians
As
are
the
back.
conflict widened, it drew in other participants, among them Spain. On the other.
Okay.
So which side
So
is Spain on?
it's a continuation war.
Not the Maria Theresa side, not the Austrian side.
So the
So the
Brits were the
Austrians
Austrians.
backed. Okay.
So it's a continuation war. That's why it's related. It's because it was continued fighting after the end of Jenkin's ear.
That's interesting.
Is that what I'm getting here?
So even though they're saying like, hey, hostilities like stopped and we like the tension was like lessened, whatever. That's what they're saying.
And then they
not
just started
really
fighting again.
because we just
Actually,
transitioned.
they both ended at the same time, but yes,
Oh.
they were happening at the same.
Well, and then who
Interesting.
won Austrian succession?
Yeah.
Well, Austria.
I suppose because they seceded. Yeah.
So
all right.
Austria was with Spain. No, Austria was with Britain.
Yes.
Austria was with Britain. So Britain. Who won Jenkin's ear?
Spanish.
Spanish. Okay, so they kind of traded a little bit.
They kind of maybe that was part
so
of
the
it.
Brits with the Austrians.
Well, hold on now.
Okay.
All right, I'm holding on.
This is very confusing.
Spain.
Yes, it is.
Spain renounced the Asiento.
Spain
That
renounced.
was
Oh,
Britain
Spain,
that renounced.
Spain
Never
renounced.
mind. No, Britain announced the.
Oh,
Jamie,
okay.
clear the fuck up.
I was like, what?
Britain renounced the Asiento
Uh huh.
and got paid £100. 100 quid.
Oi, bloke.
100 quid.
Paid the Bobby me fine, 100 quid.
And Spain fucked off of Britain.
Austria.
And
Britain.
Austria.
So basically, they paid him to leave him alone in the Austria.
So they paid him off.
Right, and to stop the
Oh.
monopoly of the slave trade, which was the Asiento.
Okay, so this was the whole thing was two separate wars, and each of them had a thing they cared about more, right?
That
So
is
what I'm
my
getting,
It's like a yin yang.
it is
like a
right?
yin-yang.
So the Spanish wanted in on the slave trade, but they weren't really too all in on the Habsburgs. But the British were all in on the Habsburgs,
Yep.
which makes sense later in life because then we get the whole cross of the royal families, right? So they were pretty in on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then they're like, we don't really care about all of the slave trade as much. That's not our big thing. So they figured we'll give them that if they'll leave us alone in Austria, and we can have the backing of a country that will, in 110 years, create a huge, gigantic, big old mess.
We could just be completely wrong, and someone watching is like slamming his head on his desk.
Fuck
but
'em.
Please,
That's my
please
understanding.
tell us, because this is interesting.
So the Brits paid the Spanish off to fuck off of the Austrians by giving them slave rights.
Which is it?
No. Say that again.
The Brits gave the Spanish slave rights in order to make the Spanish fuck off from Austria.
Yes, but the Brits also got the £100.
100,000.
100,000.
Oh, yeah, but they gave them, they paid them off with the slave rights.
Yes.
Not with the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The money was just like to pay off the
Interesting.
reparation to the people that died. Probably, I don't know how much that translates to
So
in
if-
modern money.
If the Habsburgs weren't fighting for Austria, we wouldn't have pimps in Florida.
That's what I'm gathering.
That's what I'm getting at this. That's a lesson here.
And you
Okay.
probably wouldn't have a Chevy dealership by the strip club,
And the retirement home right next to
retirement
it.
club. Yeah.
There might be, I don't know, a temple and like a library and maybe like a spa.
Places for learning, which
Yep.
we hate.
Yep.
horrible.
Horrible.
School's terrible. Because what you should be doing instead of going to school, back me on this, guys, is you should go on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
search things you're interested in,
Yep.
quickly fall asleep.
Yep.
Gosh, I woke up. It's noon.
There you go. That's what I do.
That is fascinating, and I'm glad that we learned about that because that sort of gives sort of a broader. The war itself is like kind of small in comparison to other wars of the time, but it's so linked in with like the way they had their empire, like it's so linked into their empire that it probably mattered more than you think.
It affects us today. I mean, like you said,
Pimps.
You were in a hotel elevator with a pimp. You probably wouldn't have done that if it weren't for the War of Jenkin's
Likely
ear.
not. Likely not.
Food for thought.
Mm-hmm. And on a more relevant note, maybe we wouldn't have a queen that just is eternal, apparently.
Yeah, no, she can't die.
She's a vampire.
She can't die.
She is probably a vampire, and that's not slander.
Because it's true.
It is true. She is old. Don't give her a spicy chip.
I think she kicked the shit out of me.
Probably. But don't give her a vinegar chip.
She had a warhead candy, she'd die.
She sucks the youth out of British kids.
Yeah. You know, you actually have never seen a British kid in person.
Yeah.
That's true.
Never seen one.
Never seen a British
They
funeral
don't
either.
exist.
They don't
because
exist.
the queen is killing them and sucking their blood.
Conspiracy time with young Jamie. Well, I hope you all enjoyed. Please, for the love of God, like research it for more than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Combined.
5 minutes. Yeah.
5 minutes. 6 minutes would be better than 5. And correct us in the comments because we don't
I have
know.
no idea what we're talking about.
We don't know what we're talking about. But it is interesting, and I hope you guys learned something. And what I really hope, more than anything, is that, first of all, you drank a beer. That's important. Unless it's like before 6 a.m. Unless you have been awake.
Then
Or
just
if you're
up
like
late.
12.
Probably
Yeah,
shouldn't do
of
that.
course, we don't condone underage drinking. No one should
Well.
drink underage. We don't
To
do
an
that.
extent.
Don't listen to that. Suck my dick, Bulgaria.